Hello, good afternoon. Today is September 6th, 2021, and I'm making a recorded presentation. It was a panel presentation that was presented at the NIST NICE conference, the Cybersecurity Education and Training Conference, organized by the National Institutes of Standards and Technology. And so this particular conference, the presentation I'm giving was made at the 2018 event of the NIST NICE conference, and that was held in Miami, Florida, jointly by NIST, I believe the New America Foundation, as well as the Florida International University. So I'm Bhavani Thuraisingam from the University of Texas, Dallas. And you might wonder why I'm recording this presentation after so many years. It's almost, I think it's 2+ something years. The reason I'm doing that is I always like to, not only record the current sort of presentations like backup or keynote presentations that I'm giving these days, but I also like to record some of the previous presentations, and it's just mainly to maintain the history. And in particular, this particular panel was very useful, a very important topic, and that is on engaging rural America in cybersecurity. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Sorry, it's just a second. I'm going to stop sharing it now. Reshare my screen again. Okay, so I think my screen should be shared by now. And I'm going to go back. Sorry, this is actually for my class. Sorry about that. It's something else. Let's see, where am I here? Right, so I had, oh, okay. So I had copied the presentation. Hold on a second. So I think, I don't think I copied this presentation onto my desktop, but that's okay. I'm going to, right. So, right, engaging rural America in cybersecurity. Actually, for that actual panel, it was titled Educating Rural America in Cybersecurity. And I felt the word educating, sounded a little bit sort of, I don't know, arrogant or standoffish. The correct word was engaging, because it doesn't mean the rural America is not educated. They are educated, and a lot of them are highly educated, but we need to engage them. So that I changed the title. It's Engaging Rural America in Cybersecurity. So what I'm going to do is to give an introduction to the panel, and then I'm going to present essentially what the 3 highly distinguished panelists presented. Okay, so I listened to the presentation when I was there. So I'm trying to recollect, and I've got their charts. So I'm giving the presentation. But again, if you want to find out more details, please contact the panelists. Okay, so introduction to the panel. As I said, the panel date was November 6th, 2018, and the video presentation is being made on September 6th, 2021. Okay, so the whole idea for us is that we must reinvent, right? So we cannot live in the 50s or 40s or 60s or 70s, even the 2000s. Things are changing. We are now in 2021, right? There are a vast number of men and women who are blessed with skills, such as factory assembly line production. We no longer need or will not need in the next 20 years. Okay, so I'm not saying that we definitely no longer need, but we may not need. That's I think I should phrase it better, right? But in general, we know that a lot of these jobs, although they need special skills, right? Some of the manufacturing, a lot of the manufacturing jobs have left the country. Some they're trying to bring back, but it's hard because there's cheaper labor outside of the US, especially in the third world and developing countries. robots or robot-like devices will take over many of today's jobs. So even sending it to sort of third world countries may not be sort of feasible any longer because we have robots. So just look at farming, at manufacturing. There were great jobs in their time, but the number of folks needed are no longer needed today, right? Being great requires continuously reinventing. And nowhere is it done better than the US. That's sort of the most wonderful thing about the US. Remember, I've been around for quite a long time. I grew up in Sri Lanka for the first 20 years. I'm a Tamil from Sri Lanka, and it's a third world country. And then from there, I moved to the UK, and I got my graduate education. So I was there for 5 years. And, you know, UK is, again, highly advanced with some of the most elite universities in the world. And they have, you know, they said, right, they used to say, sun never sets on the British Empire, because, you know, they really gave the language the world, English, the British culture, even the clothes, the way we dress, everything is so influenced by the British culture, right? But still, you know, sometimes I find that the British people, they sort of live right in the past, the glory days. But the beauty, so I came to United States in 1980, a summer when I was 25 years old, and I've had a great career in the United States. And that's because the United States really embraces people of all sort of color, religion, if you have talent, okay? I mean, there are some issues, of course. We know that there are issues and so on. But with respect to talent, they want to get the job done. That is really the beauty of the United States. And so this happens by continuously reinventing themselves, right? So hire the best person for the job. But the emphasis needs to be on a culture of continued change and continued reinventing, not just the country, every one of us, right? So now I'm in my mid-60s. I'm not going to, I'll be good in some things now, which I may not have been good, say, when I was in my 30s and 40s. But there are many things I might have been very good in my 30s and 40s. I may not be as good now. That means, what do? So, right, I have to reinvent myself and try to find something unique, right? So when I was, say, 35, I might have been very good in my research and so on, doing some breakthrough research and problem solving. And in 65, I may be a much better mentor, right? So that's the main thing. Okay, so what's the American dream? However, in this process of acquiring talent from the outside, the questions are, right, because are we neglecting talent from the inside, right? As I said, US embraces people from the outside, regardless of where they come from, provided they can bring the talent, they can offer something. But as a result of that, are we really neglecting what's happening inside? There are so many boys and girls in rural America who are not living the American dream that many foreigners like myself are living, because they don't have the opportunities for being truly educated. Truly educated does not just mean amassing degrees. It also means sort of educating the mind by reading and getting a new perspective on things, looking at both sides of the argument and able to make some rational sort of conclusions. So even if there is a debate, you need to sort of be able to understand what both sides are saying instead of being sort of so focused on one thing, right? So that's really what education means. And I feel, for me, education is still a learning process, right? So, you know, when I was 20, I was much more fixed in my views because I wasn't really, I feel, as educated as I am now. Now I'm able, surprisingly, they say older you get, the more, rigid you become. But for me, surprisingly, I'm able to see different points of view, reason with about different points of view that people may put forward, and give my own reasons. And so I feel that I'm getting better and better now because I'm getting more and more educated. It's a process. You can't say at one time, okay, you are educated. No, it's a process that continues from birth to death, or they say from cradle to the grave. Okay, I'm so thankful that we have the foreign students who, like me, have found the American dream, right? Because remember, without these foreign students now, we won't be able to carry out much of the research that we are doing. So some of my colleagues, they have said, people in rural America don't want to learn computer. Say, I'm in computer science, cybersecurity, data science, or they don't want to learn computer science. They don't care. They want their manufacturing jobs back, right? So partly there is some truth to it, but you have to also partly, I think they have to be sort of informed of what is really happening in the world, right? The jobs, if a job can be done for say $5, say in Cambodia or Sri Lanka, okay, and if it's costing say $500 in the US, right, the companies would definitely prefer, very likely they will prefer to send the job to Cambodia and Sri Lanka and not do the manufacturing in the US. So first of all, we need to mention to everyone what is really happening, right? Sometimes politicians have a way of saying, oh, we are going to bring the jobs back. It's made in America, right? But sometimes the jobs that have gone in many cases are not going to come back, and that has to be told to them. But you have to give them hope. You have to give people hope, because if you lose hope, right, then sometimes you think, what's the point in living, right? So there's always, you want to hope for the future. And so you have to, a lesson from the British Empire. Remember, when the British conquered the world, many countries were not literate, right? So they went, conquered the world, they changed the education system of much of the world, and now many countries have highly educated people, right? So the British and the Europeans, especially the Western Europeans, France and Germany, they are the ones who came to the United States and, got the people educated. In fact, if you look at the elite universities in the US, Harvard University, someone from Cambridge University, I think he was from Emmanuel College, Cambridge. I can't remember his name actually. So he came over, and with some others, he founded Harvard University. Remember, Oxford and Cambridge were in the, I think 1150 something and 1208, and Harvard was 53 or whatever, right? So the British also went around the world, all the colonies, right? So US was sort of one of the early colonies, you can say. Canada, Australia, India, Sri Lanka, many African countries, Malaysia, Singapore, you name it, they have been there, right? So they educated the people. We as professors have to do more to recruit more US citizen students in cybersecurity. So just like British went, they could have said, why do I need to educate other people? Why do I need to educate the US? Why do we need to educate Australia or India? But no, they gave the education, right? So they may have benefited too as a result. So we as professors have to do more to recruit more US citizen students in cybersecurity. We have to reach out to your rural students and educate them in cybersecurity, which will produce great jobs for them, right? That's really what we should be doing. And I'm talking about cybersecurity because there's a great need for cybersecurity, around probably about 1 million jobs, especially with the US government. And for many of these jobs, you need US citizenship. So there's tremendous progress now with coding camps and other special programs, but we have to make sure that these programs are being offered to students in rural America. The key to getting students educated is to get the teachers educated. We have to start first by training the teachers in rural schools so that they can then educate their students. We also have to take advantage of online education programs, right, to educate these teachers. So, we have a better online infrastructure today than we had, say, 1.5 years ago because of the pandemic. Many of us now work online. I'm giving this, today is Labor Day in the United States. So I'm giving this presentation while staying at home. This morning, I gave a presentation. The conference was hosted by an organization, university in the UK. So I gave a keynote presentation this morning. And this evening, I will be giving another keynote presentation. And I believe that conference is somewhere maybe in the Far East. And so we can do so much and with online. And so there is, I'm almost certain that there's a better infrastructure now than we had 18 months ago, but still we need to do more. So in any case, we also have to take advantage of the online education programs to educate these teachers. Okay, so what's the focus of our panel? The panel will explore the challenges we are faced with today in educating rural America in cybersecurity and discuss some potential solutions. We will focus on different segments, men, women, minority groups like underrepresented minorities like African Americans and Hispanic Americans and Native Americans, LGBTQ, people with disability, and let's see, those with autism. There's so many minority groups who are US citizens. How can we reach out to the different groups? What cybersecurity topics should we teach? How do they get the background in computer science that they need to specialize in cybersecurity? So these were some of the topics that we discussed. Unfortunately, we did not record the panel, but still I can maybe towards the end talk about some of the things that were discussed, trying to remember, okay? Okay, so we had, for the panel, we had excellent, sort of very, very distinguished group of panelists. The first panelist, I believe, was Dr. John Springer. He's a professor of cybersecurity and information technology at Purdue University. And the second was Dr. Janelle Strach. She was a faculty of instruction at the University of Texas at Dallas, and she was also the director for Center for Engaging Women in Cybersecurity. And she's chair of the board of WISIS. So I introduced Janelle, I worked with Janelle. I introduced her to WISIS, Women in Cybersecurity, and now she's taken over WISIS by storm, and she's the chair of the board, I believe. So she's I introduced her in 2015, summer, fall, and we organized a conference together in 2000, WISIS conference in 2016, March, April, and now Janelle has done so well. So she's currently now, I believe, a faculty of instruction at Rice University. And the third panelist is Dr. Sitaram Iyengar, extremely distinguished person, distinguished professor and director of the computer science. At the time, he was the head of computer science at Florida International University. And it's really an up and coming, Florida International is doing so well. I mean, it's a very comprehensive university with a medical school, with a law school, lots of students. It's really vibrant. I visited them a few times. Okay, so now let's see what I'm trying to sort of recollect what John said. Fortunately, I have the charts. So what did John say about engaging rural America in cybersecurity? So first question, what is rural America? About 60 million people, or 1 in 5 Americans live in rural America. 97% of the country's land mass is rural, but only 19.3% of population lives in rural America, because we know that the Northeast, right, from Boston to Washington, and of course the West Coast from probably Seattle to San Diego, highly populated, right? I would say like 70% of the population lives there. Among the remaining, around 20% in rural America, so which means that if some sort of the 30%, so very small population in the cities outside of the Northeast and the West Coast. So he's got this information from here. So graphical depictions, so defining urban starts with geographies, right? So he talks about tracts and blocks. Main elements for deciding if a tract block is urban: density, land cover, airports. Additional items to determine if a tract block is urban: distance, hops, and jumps. Urban would be like, let's see what it says here, more dense and so on, right? That's urban. Everything not urban, rural is like less dense and some other properties here too. So he's defining first, John is rural America. Okay, completely rural America, 100% rural, right? So he's showing there which parts are completely rural. You can see a lot of the parts, I think, where is North Dakota, South Dakota. Let's see, where is, right, this is, so you can see some parts, I believe this is Nebraska, and then of course, Montana. I don't know where Montana, yes. And so you can see, right, there's a lot of rural, very little rural in this part, in the East Coast or in the West Coast. Parts of Texas, a little bit here and there, maybe tiny part of Maine, maybe a little bit of, let's see, New Hampshire, no, New York, almost nothing in Massachusetts, they say. But anyway, that's Vermont, and I'm studying the map actually, Vermont a bit, and New Hampshire doesn't seem to have, and all of this is not rural. This is really the most congested part. Then you can see bits and pieces in the Southwest. So anyway, so 704 counties. Okay, now rural population by state, 2011 to 15, let's see. 30% or more like Alaska. And what is this? Let's see, I need to, so this is Oregon and Seattle. So looks like what is, oh, this is Idaho, I believe, right? Yes, this is Arizona, Idaho, and this is probably Montana and Wyoming. So, and the Dakotas, part of Iowa. And then, of course, you have this, some of the northeastern states, and nothing actually in New York or Massachusetts. But you can see like Florida nothing seems here to be less than 10%, like Florida, California. So very little rural here. Okay, so this is the population. Then most urban counties, less than 50% rural. And you can see almost so dense on the West Coast, and bits and pieces in, I mean, mostly in the Northeast. I mean, lots of population here, this part, although it's so small, so congested. And Florida, of course. So you can see, right, less than 50% rural. So we need, before we do that, we need to really identify. And I don't know what he meant by this. I think what he was meaning was where a lot of the population, the dense parts, I think, right? Because you can see parts of California and some of the East Coast parts, these are quite dense in this figure. So I think he's continuing with this. Right, so I think, you know, we should have John to explain what he was trying to say here. But in any case, so I don't want to give the wrong sort of impression, wrong story, but because there is no caption here, unfortunately, right? So National FFA Organization, 669,000, that's a student number, student members, 8,630 local FFA chapters. Now, what does FFA stand for? I don't know whether I've got any. Just a second, let me see whether there's something here that I can, just a second, okay. But I don't know where this is coming from. Okay, just a second. So, okay, so there's no, have I, just a second, I want to see whether I have missed anything here. No, I haven't. So, so there was FFA chapters in all 50 states, so some sort of education. 69,944 attendees at the National FFA Convention and Expo, Girls, Boy Scouts, NIFA, land grant, colleges and universities, some sort of student organization. Purdue Extension regularly reaching more than 620,000 people in all 92 counties in Indiana, connects Indiana communities to Purdue University research. So that's so National FFA Organization, that's some organization. So he's giving some numbers, right, in that organization. Okay, so then let's see. So with respect to cybersecurity, is talking about some of the topics like cyber research, there's cyber operations, trying to figure out what the enemy is up to, various cyber activities, and at the bottom, rock solid, you need to build a resilient cyber system, okay? So eventually that's what we want. Right, so now, so that was what John presented, right? So we will, at the end, I want to check what National FFA Association is about. That's one action item for me right now. Okay, now what did Janelle do? Engaging rural America in cybersecurity. So she talks about engaging females, ups and downs, breaks down stereotypes that it's only for males. So many say, oh, cybersecurity, computer science, it's for those geek males. It's not for fashionable women, but that's changing. I was on a panel recently, Fortune Media, that publishes Fortune magazine. So it was all women, though. It was interesting. It was not a women's panel. It's about ransomware, working from home. How do you protect your systems? It so happened, all myself and I think 3 others were all women. So we thought this was the one, panelists with lipstick, right? So we are breaking down these stereotypes, break down misconceptions about career options, build up community. We absolutely need to build up confidence. We need to engage the females. Then she talks about engaging females, and which is unique to rural America. Many are first-generation students, adjust messaging and content, large percentage community college, partner with the C's, community colleges, dispersed community, create online communities before and after any event. The independent school systems, district teachers not specialized, especially in computer skills, include teachers, create pre-events to build confidence. Other ISDs, significant employer, often ISD is an employer, leverage the HR, human resources of the ISD. So that's what Dr. Strach, my former colleague, she was mentioning, is to build up the women, right? And also I would say that when we talk about women in rural America, in many cases, right, some of the rural folks, they may think, right, that women should be staying at home and so on. And so those stereotypical thinking has to be changed. And that would come with, giving them more opportunities and sort of engaging them more in the education. And the reason I'm talking about cybersecurity, by the way, for the panel is a cybersecurity event. And my main specialization is in cybersecurity, secondary is data science. And cybersecurity is the area that we need many, right? Close to 1 million, I think, of jobs that require US citizenship. And most people in rural America are US citizens. Okay. So then Professor Iyengar, highly, very well-known professor. He's a fellow of ACM, IEEE, AAAS, and so on. And so all his credentials, right. So what did he say? What creates a diverse cyber workforce? If properly implemented, diversity efforts could net the IT industry an extra 400 billion in revenue each year, according to CompTIA CEO Todd Thibodeau at that time, okay? I don't know who the CEO is right now. Financially, a 1 percentage point move towards representative diversity leads to a 3-point increase in revenue. Thibodeau said during a keynote address at CompTIA's 2017 ChannelCon, companies in the top quartile for ethnic and gender diversity are more likely to surpass industry norms for revenue and operating margin. Companies in the bottom quartile for diversity aren't just lagging behind, they are rapidly losing ground. More diversity leads to more creative teams. We need more cyber warriors. Shortage, wow, he says 3.5 million by 2021. So I'm really quoting an old number when I say 1 million. We need many people. And so here are some of the resources. So again, and I'm going to give some lessons, right? Some very good points he has made. I'll talk about it at the end. How do you create these cyber warriors, right? What's a cyber warrior? One who will protect us from cyber attacks and one to train the world, especially in rural areas. We need to educate a generation of digital defenders in rural America, turning out the workforce needed by graduating students who understand the implication of terrorism, hacking, and other destructive activities by creating new talents, right? So, educating a generation. How do you respond for these challenges in rural America? Students studying cybersecurity are supposed to be hackers of tomorrow. How do we educate our high school students at the micro level for the cybersecurity problems? Describing the vulnerability that we have at the rural level because of not having enough information to make intelligent decisions. How do you implement cybersecurity policies in rural America? So it's a lot of work. And we have a lot of work cut out for us, okay? So I just wanted to make it clear for you all here. Just a second. So this is, I need to shade it so that you can see it. Sorry about that. How do I get this done? Oh, here, right. Right, so that's a source he got it from. So let's see, let's see what he's doing, what he's saying here. Access to internet is not just a rural phenomenon. 2018, 1 in 5 Americans are smartphone-only internet users, no broadband in the house, right? So there's, again, we need better internet. And maybe it's better now after the pandemic. I need to do a check. Economic lines, income of less than 30,000, 31% smartphone only. Income greater than 75%, 9% smartphone only, you can see, right? More prevalent among the African Americans and the Hispanic folks. Okay, so he's giving some numbers. less than 30,000, 32, 74, 75, urban, suburban, and so on. Broadband at home, smartphones, no broadband, no smartphones. So those very interesting numbers. And digital divide, access to internet changing demographics in Miami, modern cities, 70% without internet. If this is the case, what can we expect in rural areas? Miami is a, very, very cosmopolitan, right? And again, if you look at the age group, the demographics 18 to 29, 30 to 34, that most desirable group, 50 to 64 and 65 plus, and then white, black, Hispanic, high school or less, some college and so on. Very good broadband, smartphone, no broadband, no smartphone, right? So he's showing some numbers. And so REF 2040 AP, right, in reference, computer science in Mississippi, Montana, and Wyoming. Oh, this is very, very depressing. Not a single girl took the AP computer science examination in 2014. That is very, very sad and disappointing. In Wyoming, even worse, not a single person took the exam in computer science, okay? But look at the numbers in the Northeast and California, right? Maryland, 27.85, Virginia, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut, California, Texas, right? Supposed to be a conservative state, but when it comes to education, right, there are quite a few Texans are educated. I'm not being partial, not that because I live in Texas. Washington, D.C., Georgia, where Georgia Tech is, right? Washington State. So again, it's mostly, you can see, East Coast, West Coast, a little bit Georgia, which is sort of bordering on East Coast. And then you have Southwest, which is Texas, right? 2014 top states with students taking the AP exam in computer science. 18 states, that's, 18 states had less than 100 people take the 2014 APCS exam, not percentages, 100 people, but total number of students in the state, right? So for example, Maine is 100 and Wyoming, nothing, as I said. Mississippi, a little bit here and there, Hawaii, but you can see total number is very, disappointing and dismal. And then in 2017, College Board reports female students and minority students taking AP exam in CS doubles from 2016, which is good, but doubles from a very small point, right? In 2018, 135,000 something, close to 136,000 students take AP CS exam. Very good news, 31% increase over 2017. And women taking the exam, 38,195, but they remain only 28% of the total students taking the exam. So we are doing well. I mean, we've come a long way. Okay, so it must be better now. Code.org, right? That's the coding organization. APCS exams, total female. You can see hardly any in 2017. You can see 2018, huge jump. We should get the numbers for 2020 at least. We will have the 2021 next year. So APCS among underrepresented minorities, not bad. That is also has gone up. So we can see a big shift between 16 and 17 and then 17 and 18, right? Rapid increase. Okay, 4 areas for women and minorities, right? This report indicates which factors make the most difference at each stage of the girl's educational journey. At junior high school, computing is for girls, experience of computing, inspiring teacher, computing is cool. So we really need to get them that because that's what they are interested, right? High school, no friends studying, computing, that's not good. Most enjoyable and computing not taught. So these are not good. Sorry, not most, not enjoyable. And then in college, you have inspiring teachers and positive role model, right? People look more to role models when you are in college, right? So act now, right? We need to get more girls. Key factors to attract rural minority and underrepresented students. Seeing is believing. They need to see minority and female role models in the career field, not just coding. Computer science is not coding, but real world challenges for women and minorities, challenging them with real world hands-on engagements and topics such as health, bioinformatics, and smart areas of agriculture, automobiles, and other IoT, Internet of Things areas. Focus on middle school activities and recruiting where women and minorities often lose interest. Make courses in middle school and high school more computer oriented. Change the titles and content of computer science courses to make them more interesting. Overcome internal and cultural bias that women and minorities are not able to succeed in these careers. Working with parents to show them about computer science, okay? So what are they doing at Florida International University? And remember, Professor Iyengar was the head of computer science for well over a decade. So CS faculty at FIU, BS versus BA in computer science, reduces advanced mathematics requirements, can be taken fully online. Increase CS advisors, 57% female. Early alerts for student issues in classes. SCIS, that's their school of computing, now teaches discrete math in-house to identify problems early and give specific computer science problems found in other coursework. Working with code.org for summer camps at university. Ultimately, Sophia Academy reaching out to high school students for robotics and other. Robotics is cool. I mean, even girls, I mean, I've noticed a lot of girls really like robotics. Increase K through 12 exposure, recruiting early. Girls Who Code summer program. Okay, so he continues, educating and educators to pursue, educating the educators. NSF Research, National Science Foundation research experience for teachers. We are increasing opportunities for STEM high school and middle school. They are increasing teachers to experience computer science research, required to do a lesson plan to demo CS in the classroom. Teachers are incorporating portions of CS in their classes, advocating for more CS courses at high school and middle school levels, developing a warehouse of computer science in the classroom ideas, right? So there are a lot of excellent suggestions. And then he's talking about their tenure track faculty. Again, many of them, look, they are coming from Western Asia. 30% is East Asian, right? Which could be Chinese and Japanese or Korean, maybe. And then they've got Western Asia. Then so what is Western Asia? I don't know whether he talks about South Asia, is including that, because anyway, he calls it Western Asia, then because he's separating that from Middle Eastern, right? So blue could be maybe Pakistan, Bangladesh, and so on, Sri Lanka and India, of course. Hispanic, right? That's a small population percentage. White, you know, that's in, the white is in only 10%. European from, you know, so that's also white Europeans are more 23%. So white Americans are the Caucasian Americans. East Asians, right, so that's the largest number, Russian, African American, Caribbean, Middle Eastern. So it looks like Western Asia could be, what they mean is the India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and so on, right? Sri Lanka, Nepal, right. So for women, they have 17% women, 83% other. And minority communities, 10% and 90% non-minority. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about what are the things that we should do, right? So what I'm saying, so I got really motivated, right? I went and gave a presentation to our congressman staffers through our UT system office. I talked to them about how important, that was sometime in 2017, actually, before the panel, how important it is to engage rural America, but I was very disappointed, not much was done, right? So I took a public policy analysis certificate course and passed at the London School of Economics. And so some of the things that I was proposing there for my part of my papers and so on, we need to conduct a pilot study, select a random sample and divide them from rural America, divide them into two groups, educate a cohort of students in the first group, half the sample in cybersecurity, just give them an education for 2 years. The other half are not given this opportunity. Compare the progress made by the two groups. Based on the pilot study, establish a large program if the students educated in cybersecurity have done considerably better than, say, better with respect to jobs, okay? So those are some things that I think we really need to do in order to be able to move forward. Do a pilot study and see and convince the stakeholders, the decision makers, right? So here is my information about the contacts. And so, okay, so I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to leave you with a few words. But before that, I want to also see what he meant by this, this CompTSA. Remember, he was talking about Okay, I'm going to close this. Hold on a second. Okay, I need to move this. Okay, and then I need to also, just a second. Right, so I need to, why is this showing? Okay, so he was talking about comp TTA, and I just wanted to, just a second. Sorry about that. I want to just make a, no, it's the organization, TTA. No, sorry, talking about FFA. Oh, National FFA organization, right? National FFA is the premier youth. Remember, he talked about Dr. Springer. He talked about FFA. National FFA is the premier youth organization, preparing members for leadership and careers in science, business, and technology of agriculture, right? So remember, Purdue University is sort of in the Midwest, and so he was talking about the FFA. And some of the facts and figures he gave. Okay, so again, the question here is that people, okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the politics, right? So people get concerned, especially in rural America, oh, these foreigners are coming and they're taking all our jobs and so on. But okay, maybe some foreigners take their jobs, but most foreigners, especially some of like myself, right? I'm, gotten my PhD, and so I, have a good, reasonably high paying job. And so what I'm trying to say is that, okay, why would they want to give the job to me if they have sort of an equally qualified person from the USA, from American, already in the USA, right? Already an American citizen. Why do you want to give jobs to foreigners? But of course, once I become a US citizen, of course, I am a US citizen now. I've been a US citizen for 36 years, since 1985 fall. So then, of course, I'm an American, right? So the question then is, if I have the qualification, why do they need to hire a foreign person, right? So again, if there's already people educated here, there wouldn't be really a need. When I say educated, have the necessary skills, right, to have STEM careers. So, and computer science and cybersecurity, data science, artificial intelligence, they are highly lucrative fields, right? And so again, it's so important for everyone to have a share of the pie, a piece of the pie, right? So, and for that, we need to get educated and getting the right skills. And education doesn't just mean degrees. Degrees are a way to sort of measure, because there has to be some measure. So degrees, come in very useful, because that shows that a person is, sort of educated in terms of doing the job. But education also means, right, to get this, to enrich your mind and to be able to understand the challenges and the aspects and different viewpoints, just because, and the benefits and the advantages, the disadvantages. Just because someone tells you, oh, they are taking our jobs, you've got to really analyze, why is that the case, right? So why can't I do that job? That means that person, right, the US citizen, really needs to get educated. And so that is what we are striving for. Again, in the cybersecurity, as I think it was John or Professor Ayanga, they said that, right, 3.5 million by 2021. And why not a person from rural America be one of the 3.5 million, right? So that is what we have to do, and we all need to focus on this together. So I just had this one panel, and then I was going to follow up more, but then unfortunately we had the pandemic. But hopefully now we are all going back. We have gone back to in-person teaching after close to 1.5 years. But it's still not really very 100% back to normal. We are probably, I just go for my classes, teach my classes, everything else I'm doing on Zoom. But maybe next time this year, we might be hopefully fully open. Let's just hope and pray that things will be better, because the work is much too important. And we cannot, neglect this, right? The more we neglect the disparity and the differences between rural America and the rest of America, right? The East and the West Coast and some of the other, more larger states, the wealthier states, right? The differences are going to grow even wider. And if we do not tackle the problem now, it's going to be really much worse, right? So, and again, as we talk about rural America, we cannot forget the women and the underrepresented minority population, right? Women, as well as African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Native Americans, LGBTQ, and those with disabilities, and what else? There's neurodiversity, and there's those with autism, and so many people that we really need to build an inclusive culture. And as Professor Iyengar says, diversity, equity, and inclusion, there is lot of antagonism now because diversity, because of the whole question they say is, it's like our jobs are going away, the foreigners are coming, and the people of color are coming and taking our jobs. But again, if you don't have this diversity, that means diversity doesn't mean giving the jobs to the foreign people or people of color and so on. Diversity means increasing the pool, because the more people when I give these motivational talks, right, for women, I say, the more women we have, say, at the department head levels, right, then we have a chance of having a woman dean. The more deans we have, female deans, we have a better chance of having a female provost, right? So out of 10 candidates, if only 1 is a woman and 9 is a man, but the next promotion, the chances are it'll go to a man. So I think with diversity, what is also important, it's not like, there are some ethnic groups that are doing so well, right? So if we don't sort of have inclusive, then, it's like one particular group will dominate. And I don't see anything wrong in that, in the sense, if you're really talented, the best person should get the job, but we need to increase the pool. That doesn't mean we go to the road and ask the person, oh, are you from rural America? Are you African American? Are you woman? Are you Hispanic American? Come and join. No, we need to educate them so that they have the skills and they can compete with those in the majority, right? So majority, men of sort of Caucasian men, the East Asian men, the South Asian men. So these are the ones who are mostly in the majority, so that the women, as well as the underrepresented minorities, can compete with them. So they need the skills. You can't just get unqualified person, and put him or her in the job. You've got to give them also the education. So my point here is, not only we have to educate or engage the underrepresented, the communities from rural America. That's very, very important. We also have to engage the female and the underrepresented minority communities. So this sort of ends my presentation, and I'm hoping that, we can do something a lot more in this area, and perhaps even conduct a pilot study. And as I say, teaching the teachers, that's also another important aspect that we need to focus on. And so these are some of the things that I would like to pursue in the next few years. And maybe in a few years, I might give another presentation. So we were not quite ready for the NIST this year, but I think I'm really going to work hard and put something together to get this kick-started again in 2022. And hopefully we'll all be back to normal by fall of 2022, right? So again, thank you very much for listening to this presentation. And I will talk to you. Hopefully I will, maybe I can, you can attend some of the panels, keep note of, for the notices, like the NIST panel, probably in 2022, and various other events. And even in your case, if you all can participate and do something, every person counts, and anything that each one of us can contribute will then make the world, US in particular, and the world in general, a better place to live. Because the more educated the people are, the more understanding, more rational, more, trying to understand the different viewpoints. All of this is very, very important. Once again, thank you very much. And hopefully, if there's any feedback, please send them bhavani.thuraisingam@utdallas.edu. Thank you. Bye.